Hi, my name is Mark Starr and welcome to Little Green Man, the show that I think does fairly conclusively shows that Canadian politics, particularly provincial politics, can be very, 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 very sexy indeed. In fact, right now, the sexy politics, the thing that everybody seems to be wanting to talk about, is Donald Trump, election, meddling in the election by the Russians, and so on and so forth. And that we've often been hearing over the last few years about election fraud, people voting twice, voter ID laws, and so on and so forth, all of which tend to really scaring people away from electing and becoming in itself a election fraud. But that's another story. I have done a video on that. Maybe I'll put a card up if I remember. But right here, we've had a by-election very recently in St. Boniface, which is an area of Winnipeg where a certain kind of meddling in an election and election fixing, if you will, has happened here and has very, very recently come to light. So we've got a situation where we have the Sustainable Development Minister Rochelle Squires has squashed a report, at least temporarily, about heavy metals, including lead, in people's and the environments. So people will potentially be ingesting this, particularly its fruits and vegetables that people are going to be consuming. And she knew it as early as June 4th. Now, so how does all this fit in and what does this really mean? So we'll go down to the bottom of this article. This is a free press article and I've got to get rid of that because it's going to drive me nuts. Thank you. Right, so scroll down now. So in August 15, there was some Rochelle Squires said there was no need for concern. I don't know why there would be no need for concern. Probably didn't want to spend the money, I suspect. That tests were actually done starting August. The important part there, Rex Salinger stepped down, freeing up St. Boniface, and then, of course, an election was to be called. So now we have the Manitoba Sustainable Development came forward with the reports, which showed, at least in one sample, that they came back 6 times higher than residential standards for lead levels. A full 2 weeks later, Brian Pallister called the election. June 21st, Squires and the Sustainable Development Squires and the Sustainable Development Director had a face-to-face meeting where the results were discussed. Not quashed, I'm getting crazy. The province then sends letters on July 13th, a full month later, only a few days, 2 or 3 days before the election, by snail mail. What are the odds that they were expecting them to get those letters by July 17? There was, as far as I'm aware, no announcement was made on local radio or to the press or anything, not that I'm aware of. Just leaving it on snail mail to let them know. Certainly not in enough time to affect anybody's votes, that's for sure. And then, of course, August 20th, then she admits that she did misinform the press a little bit, whatever that really means. But whichever way you look at it, 6 times the standard level of lead has got to be bad, and lead has been connected with a whole slew of ailments and of diseases and nothing good, really. So why would she withhold this? Well, obviously, if she has obviously been very at arm's length, didn't really want to do the study, but the study has now been shown that the residents were right to be worried about the levels of lead. And as this came, then withholding it would then make it, if she'd actually released the report, then it would have made the Conservative candidate look really, really bad, and absolutely people would not have put their vote towards the Conservative Party that was gaslighting them this whole time about these health issues. Now, of course, the usual excuses come up. Well, her staff didn't tell her, even though she was carbon copied on emails right from the very beginning. She knew what was going on and still withheld it. There can be no other reason than this was intentionally withheld for just to give the Conservative candidate a better chance of running in this election. So really, this is maybe not as insidious as Russia collusion, if that actually exists. And it's not as insidious as voter ID laws that are intended to keep people keep people off the voters' roll or keep them away from the polls. But this is just as bad, because now people need to know the truth. They need the facts. Democracy only works if people have accurate and truthful and factual information. Because if they don't, then they are going to vote against their own best interests, against the best interests of the community, the best interests of their country, based on withholding evidence. So this is really nothing more than lying by omission. And if it was her staff that withheld this report, then she's incompetent because she can't control her staff. And if she deliberately did it, well, I mean, that's absolutely disgusting if she had. Now, she's not the only politician that has ever done this. So let's not just pick on her. Let's pick on all of the politicians and all of the parties. I'm sure that Brian Pastor knew what was going on as well and was part of that decision as well, I don't doubt. But at the very least, she needs to be held accountable. And that ministers and politicians that are found doing this should never, ever, ever be allowed to run for office again. They should be banned from holding any kind of public office because they cannot be trusted. And if we have someone that is withholding information in a democratic system, then we don't really have democracy. We're voting on things that we can't know about. And if we're voting on ignorance, then we may as well not be voting at all. Little Green Man. This is the back door to the Manitoba legislature. Now, if you hit the subscribe button now, hit the notification bell, then you won't be surprised when they try to stick something up your back door.